So, it's really embarrassing when you're so close to being at the end of the lecture and you have to use your fourth video. You have to whip out the fourth video, and it's like 2 minutes. So that's absolutely what this is going to be. So we're going to talk about the fourth and final type of validity. We're going to talk about internal validity. And for the purposes of an experiment, this is probably the most important type of validity because you want a cause-effect relationship. If you didn't want a cause-effect relationship, you wouldn't be doing an experiment. So you need to be able to anticipate alternative explanations for how your results shook out the way they did and potentially try to address those within the confines of your experiment. So here are 3 fundamental questions that you need to consider as you are considering the internal validity of your experiment. Are there confounds? Have you tried to rule those out? It's not the end of the world if you haven't. You might just have to do another experiment that looks at those. If you used a between subjects design or an independent groups design, did you use random assignment or match groups design to make sure that your groups are as equivalent to each other as possible? If you're doing a within subjects design, are you trying to control for order effects by counterbalancing? So if you do these things, you'll have pretty good internal validity. Now, one thing I want to mention before I go, so our Dease, Roediger, McDermott study, what are our manipulated variables? Well, so we're working from experiment 1. So what we are going to do is we are comparing within these lists of items that are related to each other. We're going to be looking at recall of the critical lore for the list compared to other words that actually were presented in the list. But ultimately, our independent variable does not pop up until we get to the recognition test. So we're looking at words that were never studied. So words you never saw, words that were in the list but were not the critical lore or the critical lore itself. This is a within subjects design. Our independent variable is it the lore? Did you see it in the list but it wasn't the lore? Or is it a non-studied word, which is basically functioning as kind of our control. So we're not actually manipulating the different types of lists. They are getting 6 DRM lists in this experiment. It's the words that they are presented with in the recognition test that are basically functioning as our independent variable. And we're going to be looking at individual recall for all of those items and then basically looking at those in aggregate. So everybody gets exposed to all possible conditions, which is why this is a within subjects design. Okay, so that's pretty much all I had for this week. If you have any questions, let me know. Please start going back and reading the Dease, Roediger, and McDermott Experiment 1. Your first methods draft is coming up sooner than you think. Thankfully, it's 0 points. I would like you to have at least 2 classmates look at it. And I'd also like to look at it too, not because I'm grading it, but because I do want to give you that feedback. So if you'd like me to share, if you want to share a Google Doc or a Word document with me, I can mark it up a little bit with things that I want you to work on for next time. Have a great week. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you at the next Sunday study session. Bye.